Oh man, the Acklay mission is still incredibly difficult even with the Geonosian rework. If you guys haven't seen the video from Mandalore where he fights the Geonosian, or he fights the Acklay with all Gear 13 Geonosians, he gets it so close and ends up losing at the end, and it's just so heartbreaking.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And yeah, that is something we've found so far, is that even with Gear 13 and the rework, the Acklay mission is still not a guarantee. There's still a lot of tactics and things to work on, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Wat mission and how much easier that is now with the reworks, even against waves of Shock T and Arc Troopers and Mace Windu, you can still run right through those with the reworked Geonosians. So with that, let's go ahead and break it all down. So let's start with the mods, and yes, I do have 2 Gear 13 Geonosians. Again, that was not enough to save me for the Acklay mission. I got wiped out in that. I had a brain fart and wasn't really paying attention and completely screwed up the Acklay mission. So even with Gear 13, it's not a guarantee. And on Brood Alpha, I'm running a mixture of speed and crit chance. You want to stack up crit chance on the Brood Alpha because that allows him to dispel on his basic. His basic will dispel if he lands a crit with it. So that's very important. 270 speed on him and a 62% crit chance. And then next up, we are going to have Sun Fac, and I actually run a speed set on him. And this is very important for the Acklay mission because that speed allows you to control the Acklay through 2 of his abilities. Subjugate will put offense down and remove turn meter on the target, and then Spiteful Strike can put blind on the target if it is already debuffed. And blind is going to allow you, or cause the Acklay to miss its next attack, and the offense down can be a counteract for the Enrage on the Acklay. So Enrage gives it 50% bonus damage, but the Subjugate with offense down takes away 50% bonus offense, so they really offset there. It's very helpful. For his mods, I have about 200 speed. Geonosian Spy got a pretty nice boost to his damage overall, and with that you want to go for crit chance and crit damage and boost up his offense. The one thing you do want to make sure is that you go for a little bit of protection on him as well to kind of boost his survivability, because if you get the nasty AoE at the wrong time, he can die pretty quickly. He's a pretty squishy character overall, about 30,000 health and protection if you have decent mods on him. Crit damage on the triangle, and then offense on the arrow. You don't have to worry about speeding him up because you have a lot of debuffs flying around with Geonosians, so he gets a lot of turn meter with that. And you can also get him to 100% crit chance thanks to the reworked Geonosian Soldier Unique, which now gives all Geos 15% bonus crit chance, and the basic on Spy gives him a lot of crit chance anyways. So if you get him up to 60% crit chance, as long as no crit avoidance on the enemy, you're able to go ahead and get him to 100% crit chance. He's always going to get crit chance up for 2 turns when he uses his basic, so 25% with that plus another 15 from the Geo Soldier Unique. And then moving on to Poggle, speed and potency is what I run on him. Pretty much you want to make sure he lands ability blocks. So boosting up his potency, you see I have him at 95%, so obviously a potency cross. You know, protection on him, you know, kind of boost up his protection and survivability, speed on the arrow, and go for that potency mod set on him along with speed. Some decent speed sets here, and we're talking 250 speed on Poggle. And overall, don't have to worry about the crit chance or the damage. He's here to ability block and basically make sure he goes fast so he can cleanse debuffs and make sure that you get a lot of ability blocks out with him. And then finally, Geonosian Soldier. In my previous video, I said you got him up to 91%, you were able to go ahead and crit chance cap him. Well, that now has dropped a little bit because his ability has been reworked. It's now 15% bonus crit chance, so you only need to get him to 85% now. So you can start boosting up his crit damage a little bit. You can see I'm running a crit damage set on him, and I actually didn't have a crit chance set on him here, but 88%, a little higher for me, and here I have another crit chance mod set on him, and a little bit of speed, but also stacking up his offense as well, you know, making sure he hits a little bit harder. We're talking 4,800 offense on him, but keep in mind he's also Gear 13. So those are the mods I've run on these guys for these videos. Let me go ahead and show you an actual successful attempt of the Acklay mission and break down that footage, and then we'll go into the Wat mission and talk about how to handle some really brutal waves that you're going to find in there. So this footage comes to me courtesy of Boomer over in Mighty Wallets. Big thank you to him for sending me this footage. With the Acklay, there's one thing you need to watch for at the very start of the mission, and that is the 4 Jedi that you're going to be facing at the beginning. You see we have a Vanguard, a Sentinel, a Consular, and then we have I'm a Gun Die. Any AoE characters that you have on the enemy team need to be controlled, especially if it's a Sentinel, because if you don't take care of them, their AoE attacks are going to wipe you out, especially if the Acklay is going to be moving soon after. You do not have the survivability and the healing capability to keep up with the AoE attacks from the Jedi and the Acklay all at once. So you've got to make sure you keep those characters under control. Obviously, the first thing you're going to need to do is use the Beast Handler ability on the Acklay. You can see that it has the Enrage ability as shown by the green icon with the arrow above it. Use the Beast Handler ability on the Geonosian Brood Alpha and allow you to go ahead and not fear about the massive damage boost to it. You can see we already got 1 AoE there from Vanguard, and you may have noticed on the Spy, it took about 50% of the Spy's protection off, and that was not good. And there we go, we got the AoE from the Acklay right after, and that's what I'm talking about. If you don't get rid of those AoE's abilities, that is going to hurt you, because if Sentinel had also used her AoE at the same time, could have easily lost this battle at the very beginning. So you do need to make sure you can get those enemy Jedi under control and that they're not going to use their AoEs. So ability block them, or kind of stagger it out so you can get those AoEs over several turns, and allows you to give more time to heal up. But now that they've used their AoE abilities, you're now free to focus on the Acklay. This allows you to go ahead and start wailing away on it. Use offense up from Poggle because it can cleanse if there's a lot of debuffs on your team like Daze. You're going to get Daze eventually on Brute and with Sunfac as well, but you can use that, and you can also use the healing ability from Alpha to get rid of that. And here you go, Spy with his first big rework here. He is going to use the illicit intel here in a moment because it puts expose on the enemy and gives potency up. And the trick here with Spy is to start stacking up a lot of buffs on him, because once he uses Silent Strike, it's going to dispel all buffs from him and do a ton of damage to the target enemy. So you're going to watch here in a moment that you're going to use Silent Strike here, and you didn't see much damage there with it that time, but if you stack it up correctly and you land a critical hit with it, it is going to wreck the Acklay, and it is going to be pretty nasty. Now, using the targeted assist from Geonosian Soldier, you can call pretty much anyone, but I highly recommend you call Geonosian Spy, because Spy does a lot of damage. And here we go, we're going to use Spiteful Strike or the taunt from Sunfac here in a moment, and there we go, we have blind on the Acklay. So the next time the Acklay attacks, he will miss on that attack. Now, of course, it would have been better if Boomer had waited until the AoE was off cooldown, because then the Acklay would have used that and it would have missed the attack. So, you know, that is unfortunate. There we go, we got the AoE from Sentinel, and you can see we're already losing characters to protection here, so we've got to move quickly. Now, go ahead and start hitting those Jedi over there. And one other thing you guys can do is that you notice that the Jedi have this retribution buff above them. If you defeat that Jedi, all Geonosians on your team gain retribution for, I believe, 2 turns. And what you can do is combine that with the AoE from Acklay, so when it does the AoE, it also takes bonus damage during its turn. So if you use that AoE, everybody counters at the same time, and then they just do a ton of damage to the Acklay. So that's something else to keep in mind as well, is you can go ahead and do that, but keep in mind that all those Jedi are preventing, or actually taking away damage from the Acklay. 10% damage penalty per Jedi that's active on the field at the time. So it is kind of a high risk, high reward situation, but it can be very helpful. And you can see here, we're already down to about 75% health on Acklay. Still going to start stacking up the buffs once again on Spy, allow him to use Silent Strike one more time and do even more damage. And you can see we're still slowly taking him out, down to about 60%, and we have to be careful here because now we've got the Roar ability back up with the Acklay, and with that it's going to gain Enrage again, and then it's going to gain bonus speed and everything else. And you can see here that we're starting to take some damage, and this is when things are going to get tricky. It's when we get back to the Roar and the Enrage ability on the Acklay, that's when things are going to get very dicey, and this is where Gear 13 becomes very helpful, because you can use that to pretty much be much more durable for your Geonosians, because that Gear 13 with the protection bonus is actually going to help offset the damage. And that's why I think Gear 13 is highly recommended here. If you're trying to do this below Gear 12, you're not going to be able to do it. we're going to go ahead, target the assist one more time with Spy, see if we can do some more damage, and it's going to get close. We're going to have the AoE from the Acklay here in a moment, and it's going to hurt because it's enraged and we were not able to use Beast Handler in time. So here we go, and whew, if he was at gear 12, he probably would have bought it there. But we're going to go ahead and hopefully here in a moment, we'll use the taunt here. Hopefully, there we go, we got the taunt and offense down, so that's going to offset the damage from the Acklay. That's very important here. And you're also noticing that we're getting protection up on the Acklay. The Acklay gains protection up at the start of its turn, 1 stack, 15% up per days on enemy characters. So there's 2 stacks, there's 2 dazes on the Geonosians. It's gaining 2 stacks of protection up. We'll go ahead, get rid of the enrage on the Acklay, and at this point, you're kind of dead in the water until you can get rid of those protection ups, because you can't counter with Sun Fac, and Sun Fac dispels pretty easily, and there seems to be a high amount of crit avoidance on the Acklay as well, and that's kind of an unfortunate thing. There we go, we dispel protection up, and ooh, and we're gonna go ahead and maybe hopefully get rid of it. Very close. Probably one more hit right here is gonna knock out the Acklay. Really, it's a marathon. It's really just kind of surviving and playing things correctly. Use the offense down from Sun Fac to mitigate the damage. Use the blind from Sun Fac to also prevent attacks from landing on from the Acklay. So overall, it's using Sun Fac at the right time, kind of controlling the abilities, and really just kind of being sure that you can get enraged down, and once you know that it's going to go back into the enraged state, try whittling down some of the Jedi around the Acklay, because the Acklay takes bonus turn, or gains bonus turn meter when it takes damage. So if you're starting to hit it a lot while it has enrage, it's just going to move more often, and that can really screw you over. So when it starts to get close to enrage, try to focus down the Jedi around a little bit as well, and see if that will help you, kind of delay the enrage, and maybe get that Beast Handler ability a little bit sooner from the Brood Alpha. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the Wat mission. So thankfully, the nice thing is the Wat mission is nowhere near as complicated as the Acklay mission is. It's still very difficult to complete the Acklay mission. Thankfully, with the rework, it's pretty much a pretty much straightforward combat mission with your Geonosians for the Wat shards. So this one's a lot less complicated, doesn't involve me talking as much. But one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind here is that you see this droid factory ability down here. It's not going to summon a droid, but it will give you a bonus turn meter, 50% for all Separatist allies. That's a one-time use. You're only be able to use this once. So if you're going to run to characters who have a lot of counterattacks, you can use this sort of a way of free damage, because you're still going to get a lot of a free attack there, and no fear of retribution. But what I'm going to be doing here is spreading around ability block. You can see that I've got the medic ability block, and then I'm going to start working on some other characters here to slowly work them down and kind of just work them down and get rid of them. Obviously, I didn't do it that well here, but I'm going to also use that turn meter reduction from my Geonosians to kind of control the other characters. If I had been smart, I would have gone after Sergeant and after the 2 Sergeants first, because they have a lot of AoE attacks, and that could really mess things up. Using a heal ability there, you don't really have to, but you do whatever. So ability blocks is very important here. The tenacity down from the soldier, very helpful here as well. You can't ability block the Acklay, but you can ability block everyone here in the Wat mission, and that's going to be very important in Phase 4 when we get to it. And here we go, Shock T in Wave 2, and this is just the beginning of when things are going to get really annoying for me. You can see I'm starting to spread around the ability block on everybody. If I can get the ability block on Medic, I can take down characters and not worry about him reviving someone, which is always nice. Dispelling the counters that Shock T has, also really nice. You can see my options are getting sort of limited here because I already have counter on the 2 clone characters. So if I can do some free damage without the retribution, like special abilities or using stealth characters, still gonna slowly work on getting rid of Shock T. I have to be very careful here because I don't want her to counter, because she can dispel. She can also apply offense up to her team. Very careful there. So characters who can dispel her counter, or someone who's stealth, that's who you want to use to counter characters who have stealth or have counter on them. So that's what you want to do. Once Shock T is down, you can easily go through the rest of the team. Nothing really here to worry about. Ethkoth is here, and Ethkoth's kind of useless, but Shakti is kind of the beginning of me sweating a little bit, and then I get to this in Wave 3, where I have Mace Windu. At this point, I'm like, oh, this can't get worse. It can't get worse than Mace Windu. Don't worry, it gets worse in Wave 4. You guys will see how bad it gets in Wave 4. You can also see I use Hailfire Droid here, because that puts tenacity down on everybody, and then I can also start putting out a lot of debuffs. I can put Expose on the enemy team, which gives a lot of bonus damage. I can use a Silent Strike here from Spy, and slowly work down some more characters. Getting a ability block on Medic is always really paramount. We're going to put Blind on Mace Windu, so that if he does attack, he is going to miss it, and then we don't have to worry about his debuff, because that debuff can one-shot anybody on my team, so that's always something that you really don't want to mess with. Pretty much a common theme. Get the tenacity down from Soldier or Hailfire Droid, get ability block with Poggle, use a targeted assist with Geonosian Soldier and Poggle for those characters you have to ability block, which you guys will see here in Wave 4 here in a moment. But you can see that we have Hailfire Droid up once more, and then I walk into this in Wave 4. Yeah, I've got ARC Trooper, Sergeant, Clone Commander, Ayla, I've got a Jedi Vanguard, and I've got Luminar. This is a nightmare composition for Geos. There's a lot of counter chance here. You have Daze grenades that do a lot of damage from the ARC Trooper, Ayla counters, the Vanguard counters, Sergeant can do a really nasty AoE. There's a lot of Entrench running around here. You have Entrench on the Sergeant and on Luminara. The Commander lowers your speed and gives bonus turn meter to all the clone allies whenever you take a turn. Yeah, this one is not going to be fun. So the first thing you need to focus on is going to be the ARC Trooper. You've got to get him ability blocked. So what did I do? I didn't target ARC Trooper right away. I went for him, and actually I realized pretty quickly that assumption was wrong. I actually need to go for Clone Commander, because Clone Commander controls the speed on everybody. So if you can ability block the ARC Trooper, and you can see what I did there, I use a target assist with Poggle on the ARC Trooper to make sure I get ability block on him. That way he cannot use his grenade ability, because if he uses that grenade ability, you're screwed. So then you start going after Clone Commander, which took me a couple turns to realize what I needed to be doing. At which point the Vanguard taunts, and yeah. So what do? I go ahead and dispel there, and then I start working on the Clone Commander. I've got to get rid of the Clone Commander because he is going to make things very difficult. Clone Commander should be your #1 target priority behind Medic, because Medic can revive, but Clone Commander can really screw things over if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention. We're going to go ahead, get ability block on the ARC Trooper again because it was about to move, and that's pretty much the name of the game here. If you see ARC Trooper, you don't have to kill him right away, but you need to make sure that you can keep him on a leash. So ability block him, daze him, blind him, stagger him, whatever you have to do, make sure you get rid of him. Clone Commander's gone, I've taken out Sergeant, now I'm going to work on the Jedi Vanguard and the ARC Trooper. Get rid of those two characters, and that's going to make things much easier, but I still have a problem with Ayla, because she has a high counter chance that's not through buff, it's through a unique. So you still have to be careful here. So I need to make sure I use stealth characters or non-aggressive abilities that will call a lot of assists. And, you know, I should have done it right there, and I didn't. Still trying to get through ARC Trooper, and I should have been using some abilities here. And this is where things are going to get a little tricky, because I left Ayla for last, and I should not have done that. So I'm going to need to use anything that does not do direct damage, or the Hellfire Droid, because that's nice, but it does cause counters. Use stealth abilities, and I also set it up perfectly for Geonosian Spy at the end. So overall, you gotta get rid of Clone Commander first, and once you get rid of Clone Commander, start taking care of that ARC Trooper. ARC Trooper is going to be your biggest threat here because of those AoE grenades. You gotta make sure you can keep them under control, so ability block here is very helpful for that. So overall, the Acklay mission is still going to be very difficult, even with Gear 13. It's not a guarantee. You have to play it smart. You have to, make sure you're keeping things under control and not charging up the turn meter on the Acklay too much. But with the rework, the Wat Mission is pretty much a cakewalk now. I mean, even, granted, I do have Gear 12 and Gear 13 characters, but even at a lower gear level, as long as you can keep the characters under control, you can slowly whittle things down and run right through that Wat mission. You just have to play it smart. And that's the important thing here, is even with all this gear on here, the level of difficulty here is still going to punish you if you just run in blindly and just start mashing buttons. So let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Are you happy to see that the Wat mission is pretty easy now with the rework. What do you guys think about the Acklay mission now? Let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. As always, I will talk to you guys later.